Dora, I think we just witnessed Kristen Stewart publicly flip out. I know. Cray, right? She's normally so calm. Well, this should make her...
Hello everybody, welcome to this video on setting up the Raspberry Pi TVheadend Kodi Server. In this video, the prerequisites is to have your Raspberry Pi SD card inserted into your Raspberry Pi, your TV USB stick inserted into your Raspberry Pi, your TV antenna connected, whether that be a dongle antenna or an external terrestrial antenna to receive signal, and of course booting it up, and we get going. So in this video we're setting up the TVheadend server first, and then we'll proceed to set up the Kodi server. Now Kodi has been co-located on the same image. You can connect Kodi from any device to your Raspberry Pi TVheadend server, or use the co-located one on the Raspberry Pi itself. Later on we'll be getting into connecting the TVheadend client on an Android device, and later on we'll also be setting up Kodi and also doing the Kodi call remote and connecting it all up. Alright, so let's get started. So the first thing to do is to power up your Raspberry Pi. Ideally your Raspberry Pi should already be connected to a network, which will allow it to pull a DHCP IP address. You can set up the WPA supplicant client to do a totally headless connection of your Raspberry Pi to your network using its onboard Wi-Fi adapter. However, in this particular video we have it connected to a network, and on the boot console screen you can see that the Raspberry Pi has already received an IP address. Now the Raspberry Pi IP address is listed over here. It is then published the relevant URLs that you can access your TVheadend server with, your playlist when you would like to play all your channels in VLC, HTOP just for basic performance, and a web-based SSH shell if you would like to use a browser to access your terminal session on your Pi. In this video we're going to be using Pi to do that. Alright, so let's set up the TVheadend server. The first thing we need to do when setting up the TVheadend server is we need to scan for the available frequencies for the services that are broadcast in your area for your digital terrestrial transmissions. So what we are going to do is we are going to connect to our Raspberry Pi remotely. The Raspberry Pi has been set up to use the username Pi with password Raspberry. We've also set up the root user with the same password. Let's log in as root, password Raspberry. If you do decide to work as Pi, please proceed your commands with sudo so that you give it the necessary permissions. Alright, so the first thing we do is we need to kill the TVheadend services that might be running. That command is sudo kill all -9 TVheadend. That will ensure that TVheadend is not running in the background. And we need to scan for the available channels or frequencies that are available in your area. So for that it is sudo w_scan -x. Your initial scan will be from 42 megahertz up to 870 megahertz on DVB-T. It will then proceed to do a secondary scan on the same frequency range for DVB-T2. The reason we do the scan is to find the necessary settings which we need to input into TVheadend so it can receive all the broadcast channels. Now while it's busy scanning the channels, over here I have an Android device. I've already installed TVheadend Client and I've installed Kodi Core Control. We're going to be using these two applications as we move through this video. Alright, DVB-T2 channels are now scanning. Alright, our first frequency is 738 megahertz. And we have 770 megahertz and 838 megahertz. Alright, the summary tab there. So we're going to copy this information and we're going to paste that into Notepad so that we can easily refer to it. So you would notice that we had 738 and 770. So let's just copy this line here. We had 770. You can run the scan a couple of times, especially if you've got an antenna and you're not sure of the reception and you'd like to retry it. You can repeat the scans a number of times, but just remember that you need to kill the TVheadend service running on the Raspberry Pi. Otherwise WScan will not be able to access the device because it will be in use by TVheadend. Alright, so this information we're going to put one side. Let's just make double sure that TVheadend is not running, which it's not, and then we're going to invoke TVheadend manually with a -C to clear all settings. Please do not close this window. If you close this window, TVheadend will not be accessible. Alright, we head on over to our browser. Now, if you had a look at the URL there for the TVheadend server, we're going to use that URL in our browser to access TVheadend. Alright, your default welcome screen will appear as nothing is configured or been set up yet in your TVheadend server. So go ahead and choose your language. At this point you can save and next. Save and next. Over here you can enter your subnet that is local to allow access from this IP address ranges. Here we're going to create our first user as admin, and I'm going to give it a password of admin. Save and next. We're going to be setting this up through all the tabs that are available. So at this point you can just save and next until we are complete. And let's log in with the user we created, which is admin, and the password admin. Alright, we now have the TVheadend web interface for the backend server up in front of us, and now we proceed to do our configuration. The first step is to go to your DVB inputs and check that your USB TV stick is now visible. Our stick is able to do ATSCC, DVB-C and DVB-T. We will only be setting up the DVB-T in this video. At this point we need to go and create a network. We know that we're going to be doing DVB-T services, and we're going to give it a name. It can be any name. We're going to call it DVB-T2 ZA for South Africa, and we are going to apply that. Okay, as you can see, my network is now created, but there's nothing in it. At this point we head over to the muxes, and we now add our muxes to the network that we have just created. At this point please refer to the notes that we saved a little bit earlier on. So we have got a frequency of 738 megahertz. We've got a bandwidth of 8 megahertz, FEC high and FEC low. We've got a guard interval. We've got our constellation. It's all visible. So at this point we are now going to input that into our MUX configuration. Yes, we want it to be enabled. Yes, we want electronic program guides. We are using DVB-T2 standard. The frequency is 738 megahertz. The bandwidth, as you can read from here, is 8 megahertz. The constellation is QOM auto, as you can see it there. The transmission mode is 32K. You can see mode there is 32K. Your guard interval is 1 and 16. And you have got none for hierarchy. Hierarchy, none. Hierarchy is set to none. The other two we can leave auto. Let's apply that change. In the background you can see the first MUX was created. If all the relevant settings are the same with exception of the frequency, we can merely copy the secondary frequency, paste it in there, apply that, and our second MUX is then created. Alright, once that's done we can go over to networks, and you can see that we have assigned 2 MUXes to the network. At this point we now over to TV adapters, select your DVB-T2, enable it, and connect it to the network that you have just created. Do not enable power saving, and then click save. At this point go over to your network, select it, and click force scan. Now, as you look at services, there is nothing currently. Let's head on back to the networks. the scan is now proceeding. We can see that currently it's found 25 services. It's still busy scanning, and we can see the channels now becoming visible under the services. As we can see, there's one more scan in the queue, and now we're up to 30 services. Alright, the scan is now completed. We have 30 services. We go over to the services, and now what we need to do is we need to map these services. I'd suggest mapping all of them. Do not map encrypted services, and then merge with the same name and map services. Alright, we've mapped 30 out of 30. One was ignored, probably due to it being encrypted. Let's head on back to configuration, and scan is complete. Alright, let's head on over to Electronic Program Guide. Now all the channels are now visible. We can filter by channel, etc., etc. At this point, we can test whether we can watch TV. Let's watch eMovies Plus. Now this depends on whether you have the necessary plugins for your browser. I'm currently using Chrome. Sure we click to play that channel, and there we have eMovies Plus. Alright, at this point we can then use the digital video recorder. We can schedule recordings, view and play our finished recordings, and the TVheadend HTSP client that we're going to configure later in Kodi will then connect to this service, and whatever you schedule on your PVR to record will become visible for up and current recordings, and when it's finished it'll also be available in Kodi. Alright, so to summarize in the configuration, what we did is we first created a network. Then we created the muxes based on the frequencies that we scanned. Then we connected it to a DVB-T a TV adapter, and then we proceeded to do a scan, and after that we then mapped the services. At this point your TVheadend server is up and running. At this point we're going to add a user for Kodi. And we are going to allow basic, advanced and HSTP access. And this is for Kodi, and we're going to create that user. Once we've created the user, we're going to add a password for Kodi. And the password for Kodi, I'm going to make Kodi. Alright, at this point you will have all your available channels. You will be able to record and play back. If you are selecting a live service, you will be able to play the program right away or watch live TV. Alright, once this is now configured, head on over to your your Android device. Access your TVheadend client, which will connect directly to your TVheadend server. This can be a TVheadend client on any mobile device, whether it's iOS or Android. And at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to add a connection name. I'm just going to call it my Raspberry Pi. For host name, we already know the IP address of our Raspberry Pi on our network. And the username we created was admin. And the password we created was also admin. And then we say it's done, go back, and refresh. Great, we are connected. At this point we can see all of our channels, radio channels, TV channels. We can filter those tags just to show TV channels. And at this point we can play at will or record.
Something's not right. I'm so looking forward to having power over.
With digital terrestrial television, there is no snow. It's literally a digital broadcast, so the image is the same quality as a satellite. At this point I'm going to go out of the session, tilt my screen back up. You also have radio stations. At this point you can also schedule recordings, series recordings, etc., etc., view your program guides, etc. Alright, we've finished with this. I'm going to close that out. That completes the TVheadend server setup, and now we're going to proceed to set up Kodi Server. Alright, one more thing before we proceed. Is you would have noticed on the console you also received a playlist URL. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up an additional session. You can copy the URL and type it in. I'm just going to access the Raspberry Pi with another session. And cat your etc/issue file. And the etc issue file should have the URL where we can grab it nice and comfortably. And we are going to go to VLC. You can basically use anything which will allow you to stream from your network. Now it's important admin is the username and admin is the password.
Blessing, confession, my love no contesting. I need affection.
Let me just mute the radio station at this point. It's very important to note that with many streaming solutions that it multicast streams to your network, which you would need advanced things like storm control for your multicast on your network, otherwise it would lock up your access points. With this solution that does not occur because the stream that you request is the one provided to your device. So let's go to our playlist, and as you can see I have all my channels now available to me in VLC. So let's select one of those channels, and as you can see
China? It's good news. Let's talk about Russia.
It's not personal.
let me just mute that so everybody can hear what I'm saying. At this point I can start up multiple VLCs and I can play multiple screens on any devices any mobile devices using VLC natively as well. Alright, so let's go back to the playlist. Let's select a different channel. Alright, let's mute that so everybody can hear me again. Alright, so at this point I'm going to close off VLC, and we are now going to proceed to configure the co-located Kodi server on the same Raspberry Pi. Right, let me restart my previous session. Root, Raspberry. Right, the first thing that we need to do is, if you decide to use Kodi that's co-located on your same Raspberry Pi, it will need to automatically start up on boot. In the background here you can see that it's currently booting only to a console. So in order to do this, we need to run the advanced configuration menu that will allow us to set Kodi to auto start. We do that by typing in home Pi main menu. The advanced configuration menu is covered in a different video, but in essence network configuration allows you to configure your Raspberry Pi as an access point hotspot. The second option allows you to connect it as a wireless client to an existing Wi-Fi network, or if you don't have a DHCP server in your area, you can assign a static IP to it. You can also install a DNS or DHCP server if you need the Pi to also act as that on your network. And IP forwarding allows anything that's accessing the Raspberry Pi to forward its traffic on for things like internet access and your hotspot. If you have configured something incorrectly, simply restore your network configuration to factory default settings. At this point, exit. The immediate configuration is if you have attached a USB drive, whether that be a pen drive, flash drive, or external hard drive. Just please bear in mind that if you do connect an external hard drive, that you use either a powered hub, USB hub, or that the drive is powered independently. You can also mount shared drives from a Windows-based system. And the Kodi configuration is where we want to be at this point. We can either disable Kodi on boot up so that it ends up in a console boot like you can see in the background, or we can enable Kodi on boot up. At this point we're going to say yes, we want it enabled, and exit and reboot. Alright, at this point you will notice that Kodi Krypton now loads directly through the HDMI port of your Raspberry Pi. It will be visible on any device connected to that HDMI port. And the initial time that Kodi is booted, you need to make sure that the services are set up to allow remote control of Kodi. Right, the way we do that is we head on up to settings, and we head on over to server settings, and we head on down to control. And you need to make sure that this option here to allow remote control via HTTP is enabled. once you've done that, you will be able to then connect to your Kodi system remotely. Alright, at this point we head on over to the Android iOS system. It's going to be a lot easier to demonstrate how to set up your TVheadend HTSP client. So let's open up Core. As you can see, we do not have any media centers connected. Let's first try and scan for our Raspberry Pi. It did not find it. I'm also going to call this connection RPI, and I'm going to put in the IP address. There's no need to put in anything else. At this point you just click test, and you'll notice on the screen it has now detected a connection, and we are connected to our Raspberry Pi Kodi server. So that completes setting Kodi to auto-start and connecting Kodi Core Remote to your Kodi server. At this point we now need to set up the TVheadend HTSP client so that Kodi can integrate with the TVheadend server in these co-located on the same device. As I mentioned earlier, you can use any Kodi system and connect your Raspberry Pi if you are just using your Raspberry Pi as a server in a back room or anywhere out of the way. Let's click finish. We now have the remote control running, and we're now going to control our screen. Let's proceed back to the home menu. Let's go to add-ons. One back up. Let's go to add-ons. Select add-on. It will be my add-ons, and you head on down to PVR clients. Select PVR clients. TVheadend HTSP client is already loaded. Let's select it, and let's configure it. Now the TVheadend hostname or IP address is localhost. And we created a username and password earlier called Kodi. So the username would be Kodi. And the password we created for that user was also Kodi. Okay, at this point we head on over and we say OK. And once we've done that, we enable the client. If you had any configuration issues at this point, you would get a pop-up on the screen telling you that it would not be able to connect. An absence of this tells you that it is actually working. So at this point we can back out completely. And now we head on over to our TV. Say OK. Alright, you'll notice that the integration has occurred. Kodi is now busy updating all the TV channels and available channels. Let's go down to radio services. As you can see, Kodi is now busy updating all the available radio channels that are available. Now in the TV section, at this point you can view live TV or any of your channels. You have an available EPG or electronic program guide for the EPG data transmitted with your provider. You can also go and play existing recordings or view recordings that you'd previously done. So let's head on back to channels. Now on first configuration, the Raspberry Pi takes a minute or two to settle down and update the relevant channels and information and metadata. So initially it might be slow, but once this configuration is done, at this point you're able to go forward without having to redo any of these setups. So let's go down to eMovies Plus. As you can see, the EPG, the metadata is coming in. Now on the Kodi remote client, you can see that there's available control features in terms of changing your volume, stopping it, etc., etc. On the main remote, you can see that it's showing you the name of the program playing. Okay, at this point we push enter again to get a full screen. Now until synchronization has occurred, you might experience a bit of a delay in terms of this initially coming up, but once it's functioning it should be up. So at this point I'm going to stop that, and the reason being is so that you can all hear me. So at this point all your TV channels are available. Kodi is up and running and connected. Menu. If we look at our EPG, you can see the EPG data is pulling through and it is available. Alright, at this point you can connect any computer system with a browser or VLC from any computer system, any mobile device via TVheadend client or native VLC, and you can have multiple channels available simultaneously played and recorded by different people. Alright, that concludes this video. Thank you everybody for watching.